They say that all in love is fair, oh, but you don't care. You'll know what to do when it gets hold of you. With a little help from above, you'll feel the power of love.
When I speak of time, gentlemen, I'm referring to the fourth dimension. Go on, George. Well, the difficulty in explaining the fourth dimension is that it cannot be seen or felt.
If you don't mind, George, would you refresh me on the first three dimensions?
Oh, really, Philby? Surely they taught you something in school?
Suppose you explain it, Doctor.
Huh? Oh, certainly. Well, for example, when I move in a straight line, forward or backward, that's one dimension. And when I move to the left or right, two dimensions. And when I move up or down, three dimensions. For instance, that box. Well, that box has three dimensions: length, breadth, and height.
Yes, but what is the fourth dimension?
Oh, well, that's mere theory. No one really knows what the fourth dimension is, or even that it exists.
On the contrary, Doctor. The fourth dimension is as real and true a dimension as any of the other three. In fact, they couldn't exist without it.
What do you mean?
Well, let's take that box. It has the first three dimensions, as you said.
Oh, all right, but what's in that box?
I'm coming to that. Let's consider this first. Why is it that we usually ignore the fourth dimension? Because we have no freedom of movement within it. You see, we can move in the other three. Up, down, forward, sideways, backward, as the doctor said. But when it comes to time, we are prisoners. Do you follow me, Bridie?
No.
George, you've given a most lucid explanation and all that, but I'm afraid I don't quite understand.
Walter, look, there are many things in this world you don't understand, aren't there?
Yes, quite a number.
Well, you don't refuse to believe in them because of that, do you?
No, not if I can see the proof with my own eyes.
Good, Walter. Gentlemen, all I'm asking you to do now is to witness a demonstration of the possibility of movement within the fourth dimension.
Thank you, I Fight Dragons, for that wonderful song. God, it gets better every time I listen to it. Love it. And welcome to Graphically Novel Presents Time Traveling. My name is Josh Wasta, aka Fallout Fieri, and with me is my main man, the co-pilot in this journey that is these time travel movies, Mr. Will Asbill. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you too, sir.
And our always third here for the ride and to offer a little bit of a woman's perspective, Miss Ann Asbill. Ann, good to see you too.
Howdy, folks. Good to see you too.
And gracing us with her presence today, auditing when she needs a laugh, it is the Baronessa, Miss Jennifer Howland, my lovely wife. Jennifer, hello.
Hello.
Woo! So we have been through Time Loops, which was our episode 0. We have been through Back to the Future. And now we're gonna do a film that I had never watched before, that Will put on the list when we were deciding the 5 top most important time travel movies, and that is The Time Machine from 1960. Will, give us a little bit of why this made the list.
I remember seeing this when I was under 12 years old, and I just remember the practical effects and the scene designs and even the time machine design. I was kind of like, this is really cool. And I had not watched it probably in years, probably as a majority of a time jump.
Right?
And
80,000 years.
Yep.
Anne, had you seen this before?
I had seen it when I was a kid, because I was sort of nuts for classic movies as a child. I had not seen it since then, so I have some very different perspectives on it from when I was a kid, because there's a lot of stuff I didn't notice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially because I hadn't read the book yet, so I didn't have comparison, but now I do. Hollywood.
You're right. Jen, you also watched this in the past and remembered a very different movie, specifically Color.
Yes. In my mind, when he was like, "Have you watched this movie?" I said, "Yes, absolutely. I've seen that, and I have seen this multiple times." But in my head, it was a black and white movie.
Ah. Huh.
Yeah, I had not seen the movie. I am actually in my sci-fi. I am big Vonnegut, Ray Bradbury. I've read a bunch of that kind of generation. Asimov, I've read some of. I never really got into H.G. Wells. I think at a formative time I read War of the Worlds, the script for the radio play. And I know I've listened to the radio play, and I think that's as far as I really went with H.G. Wells. And part of that is watching this really kind of reminded me, I have kind of a block when it comes to any movie or media older than I am. And I know that that's an affront to people with taste, such as my wife and definitely Anne. But I don't know. It's something like Bringing Up Baby I can do, Marx Brothers I can do, and I think it is just those movies are not quite as slow in the beginning.
That's fair. That's very fair. I will say that the book is pretty distinct from their adaptation of the film in a lot of different ways. But H.G. Wells also, he's not that much of a formative sci-fi writer for me. I know he's an early of the genre, although people then, of course, discredit Mary Shelley and Frankenstein, which is the true origin of the genre. But
Right.
H.G. Wells wrote for kids. These were, short stories that were palatable for children because that's who science fiction stories were marketed to and seen as readable by at that time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It wasn't really adult fiction by any stretch of the imagination.
So going and watching it, obviously all of us have watched it a while ago. Jen so long ago that nothing had been in Technicolor yet. But what did people think going back and watching it now? And I'll save my first time kind of notes for after.
I now realize that there isn't a lot of character depth for a lot of characters. It's kind of limited on story. You don't really have a great villain, but it's still fun, especially if you turn your brain off. It's still a silly movie, but I still love it. Also, if you Google the H.G. Wells Time Machine poster from the 1960s, the poster looks dope.
Oh yeah, no, the poster is what. So we have a shared Vudu account between several of us, and that's where when I buy movies for the shows or whatever, I always put it on that Vudu account, and that is when you're flipping through, that is the movie cover, and yeah, it's very cool. So Anne, any new thoughts? Anything new to bring to this? Watching it as an adult.
So some 3 decades later, holy shit, does Hollywood feel the need to shoehorn in a romantic storyline in every goddamn work they put it out, even when it has no place in the work or in the origins, and also creates a really uncomfortable, sexy baby type of thing. That is something that I very much don't enjoy that gets done a lot.
Well, and the
really
actress,
sexy, but they've got the mind of 3-year-olds.
right. Well, and also when they started filming, she wasn't 18 yet.
Oh,
that's gross.
And what really puts the cherry on top of all of this is in the books, specifically in the book, the Eloi are described as very frail creatures. It is difficult to determine their gender, according to the time traveler himself. And the only one that's really identified as a female is Weema, but the relationship is more, she's like a pet or a really small child that toddles around after him.
Right.
Not a romantic interest.
No, not at all. The thing I think that made that even more of a standout for me was the fact that she couldn't form a complete sentence until she wanted to know if she was pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How do women wear their hairs in
How do women wear
their hair in
their
your time?
hair in your time? It's like, girl, you didn't even know what a fucking dress was an hour ago.
Note during that scene that says, "Do you have anyone there? Anyone like me? No, no one like you, you dumb, sexy baby."
Well, and then his response was, "Well, yes, there is one woman. She's my housekeeper." Ha 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 ha.
Well, that's the most important thing a woman can be good for. Let's not forget that.
Right.
Will, I want you to do something. The next time you get a card for Anne, like anniversary, birthday, whatever, I want you to put in it, "Happy anniversary, you big, dumb, sexy baby."
Deal. Watch, she's gonna get fan letters that will be like, "We love you, you big, dumb, sexy baby."
Yeah, so Jen, new thoughts? Other than Weema, because man, we could go off on Weema for a while. Actually, we could go
a direct line from Weena to
right.
Dallas in The Fifth Element.
It was, so my thoughts were very Victorian, very, very Victorian. So yes, that was right. The guys were like, "Don't be silly. That's not proven Victorian men science."
Except for Scrooge McDuck, he's a good friend. He's a real one.
Right. And then when he is with the Eloi, he's like upset that they don't mark him as like that whole dinner scene where he gets upset because no one falls for his conversation bait.
My note that I had for that is Rod learns what it's like to have a meal with teenagers. Where just nobody's talking to him or acknowledging him or really wanting to talk to him at all.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing was the scene when he someone's like, "Oh, we have books," and he goes and he finds the old decrepit library. Was the scene at the end of Planet of the Apes.
You blew it up! God damn you! Oh my god. Yeah, the first of all, the book thing, I'm like, okay, so a page was frail, cool, and you really value books, that's fine. Why don't you just smash one in your hands? Also, it's, just drive the point home, like, just have a little plaque somewhere that just says Alexandria.
Well, also the whole scene with the Eloi and the Morlocks was fragile white male privilege.
The entire movie is fragile white male privilege.
It just was brought more to the forefront. The other thing that I thought was amusing was how I befriended the mannequin in the store across the street. We are both eternal.
You're my best friend. Well,
that brings up another time traveler.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that brings right into the Umbrella Academy and
yes,
that's true.
Thank you, Anne.
Oh, you know what? Now I'm catching
the future time travel man. Yes. This the Umbrella Academy.
I'm guessing that is probably a nod to the time machine. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's really funny. I want to stick on the male privilege real quick because the whole plot is male privilege. Yeah. Like, he says that the entire reason he wanted to go to the future was to get technology from the future and bring it back to the past.
So
like, that was his
time thief.
Yeah, like, that was his goal.
Not a successful one.
No, which is good. Although
but he did the opposite.
Well, yes, except that flower probably caused a zombie outbreak.
No, he did the opposite. He goes back.
Yeah.
So he takes technology from the past to the future.
Well, in my research on the D, I found out that was because it was sequel bait.
Yeah.
They were setting up a sequel.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also a much more hopeful future than the end of the book ever brought me.
Right.
Which, again, didn't read the book, so I'm not sure what the differences there are.
Well, in the book, after the whole Eloi and Morlocks thing, he keeps going, and he travels further into the future, and he's on a beach getting attacked by giant crabs, and the sun is like hanging red and huge in the sky. And then he goes further in the future, and he can't barely breathe the air, and the only sign of life is like this black tentacle monster. And then he goes back and does the whole dinner party. And then he just disappears again the next day.
Huh. Dr.
So
Samuel Beckett never returned home.
Which I also, they brought in some knowledge of the future into the story that was not obviously present in the book. Like, it was written in 1895. He didn't know about World War I. He didn't know about World War II. He saw war as a terrible thing and saw it creating a bleak future and wrote a story based on that. So he inserted all of that, but it's 1960. Computers are very much a thing at this point. And yet the idea of any knowledge being stored in computers in the future, they just completely disregard.
Right.
It's all the crumbled books, which I think it's funny the things that they chose to include and then didn't choose to include.
Yeah, I mean, I find it like it's the details that really I found. Like, I was laughing at things I probably shouldn't laugh at. Like, he walks in a room and he's like, "Hey guys, let me show you time travel. Give me a cigar," and he like just snaps this dude's cigar in front of him for really no reason. There was no reason to put the cigar in the little time
in
machine
a seated
bottle.
position.
In the seated position. I'm like, you just ruined a cigar.
Also, how did he build
Miniaturization?
What the fuck kind of Keebler elf tools did he have access to that allowed that?
Also, when it comes to Alan Young, I was making Scrooge McDuck jokes, and then I hit him on IMDb and found out he actually was the voice of Scrooge McDuck.
Me too.
And then at one point he says, "I have no desire to tempt the laws of providence, and I don't think you should. It's not for a man to trifle with." Which is 6 full years before we get the, "You cannot change the laws of physics."
Oh my god.
So he is Proto-Scotty.
Yep.
He was honestly my favorite part of the whole movie.
Yeah, honestly, him playing his own son, with less of an accent, so well done. What was that?
He said tragically British, not a Scottish son.
Right. Yeah.
Also, way to unintentionally fuck with your best friend's kid.
Right?
Hey, I'm gonna see you in the next 30 years. What? Bye.
But it doesn't matter. You won't, like, none of this will really be impactful to you because the Earth is about to get fucking nuked.
We were actually doing some research, and the whole the volcano scene with the lava running through London, they dyed oatmeal red. The lava is gallons of oatmeal.
That's amazing.
Top that, Marvel.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I really only have 2 more notes. One of which is I think we should start a list of time travel rules. And Time Travel 101 will be, if you have a time machine, do not leave the time machine unless you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is no reason to be like, "Oh, I'm at 80,000 years in the future. Guess I'll walk around."
Also, I think Anne had a comment about, like, the nuke going off in 1966, and he's, like, way the fuck away from the machine when it goes off.
Yeah.
We had another Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull moment. Like, he would have been vaporized in the initial blast.
Right.
Well, he's a protagonist, so he's got plot armor. So.
Right. Well, and also, he's not willing to go with all of the people who are like, go into the bunker, but he follows the Eloi, like, forever to go to their place.
They're sexy and blonde.
Right.
Well, they are blonde. And young.
Baby blonde.
They're blonde and young, and that's about it.
You big dumb baby.
I believe she just said, "You dumb baby."
You dumb baby, that's true. She did not, there was no big.
Dumb, sexy baby.
Dumb, sexy baby. There we go. And then the last note that I have is, hey, and that's like the whole comparison of that would be like us going and talking to people from Bali. Bali and Europe had been trading by 1900 for 400 years.
Yeah.
That was just an unnecessary dig at Bali.
Yeah, why?
Because mid 20th century views of other races and countries.
They don't like to call it white supremacy, but white supremacy.
Right, right. Well, it was American white supremacy, and that made it okay. Yeah.
Well, and your first rule about not leaving the time machine, it is always going to be broken if the lead character is a white man.
That's true.
Because white male privilege. No one is going to touch my stuff because it's mine.
Right. Yeah, I mean, most other people, like when it comes to science and stuff, would have gone 5 days in the future, like went and fucked with one of their friends or something, and then like gone back and be like, hey, guess what's going to happen in 5 days to all of you?
Yeah.
And don't you ever laugh at me ever again.
Also, if he were truly a scientist, he would not have. Yes, there would have been scientific.
No, it would have been scientific.
Yes.
Yeah, there would have been real experimentation and boring shit. Also, he would have sent the cigar like 2 minutes into the future, like Doc Brown.
Right. Also, the time machine would not have had velvet and crystal and Chinese ceramics.
I'm going to argue that that's more Victorian than it really is. That's Victorian science.
Look, if you can't put crushed velvet in your time machine, what's the point?
I've seen Casper. I know what's up. That all tracked is very...
But to go back to the Future, what's the point of making a time machine if you can't do it with a little style?
I know, right?
I mean, Doc Brown makes a DeLorean. That's pretty much the 80s, the 80s version of the Victorian. Velvet Sled, which was also my nickname in high school.
Ladies.
I just threw up a little in my mouth, just imagining him tipping his trilby.
Which I actually wore in high school.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Black trilby, black trench coat. Woo!
It's a look.
It was a 1997 look.
It's
like
still
pre-Columbine.
Blessedly.
Yes. So, let's... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Ooh.
Go right ahead.
I will say, I think the way that they visualized time travel itself with the time-lapse photography was pretty cool for the time. And then way cooler and super metal when it was rapid decomp on a Morlock corpse. Like, that was badass.
Yeah.
And
You want to hear something even better?
What?
That wasn't photography. So, like the apple growing and everything, that was a painting.
That's amazing.
They painted it, they filmed it, the guy painted it over again, and so, like, it was a painter going through and adding just a little bit at a time.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That does make it cooler.
And we're going to put a happy little apple here.
The piece that made it even more Victorian, when he tells this whole story and they're like, no, really, where were you this last week? And the one dude's just like, it's not unusual for a gentleman to lose a week. Oh, the times of opium where that was like a normal thing you could say. Like,
we were discussing that. I was like,
for 5 days.
I've lost an hour. I've lost an evening. That's as far as it really should go. And arguably, it shouldn't even really go that far, but we've all been in our 20s.
It's happened.
Oh, man. Turns out he got stuck in future TikTok.
Well, we see a little Morlock there in the painting. That's not an accident of nature. That's not a mistake of nature. It's more of a happy little accident.
Also, we actually, when we're thinking about it, it's like, yeah, we get it. The Eloi are like docile, but holy fuck, do they just like not give a shit?
Wieners in the river.
Well, it's the establishment of society. Yet again, we have the privilege of white men inserting itself. We see this completely othered society that we have no part in, that we have no real knowledge of, and we see it set up a certain way, and we're immediately like, no, that's not the way we do things. Let's fix this.
Right.
He starts the whole problem.
Well, also
the Morlocks.
Right. I mean, everybody was pretty happy with what was going on. You know, the system was fine. And also, if you want to shock me, this is speaking from a position 63 years after this film was made. Okay, but if you want to shock me, maybe don't call the people that will eventually be shown it to be cattle as cattle several times before you find out they're being eaten like cattle.
Cannibalism.
Right, which at that point, by the way, Morlocks have kind of evolved or changed enough that it's not really cannibalism. It's like, you know, us eating monkeys.
It happens.
Yeah.
Right.
So
things happen when we do it, but
sometimes.
Morlocks.
So a funny thing happened before we rewatched it. Anne sent me a message asking what we should eat before we watched the movie.
Chill, monkey brains.
So what matches with this?
And I'm just like, I don't know. It's a British guy going into the future, and the Morlocks are eating like these humans. Stir fry?
Long pig.
I suggested pork.
Very nice. Well done.
A conversation about would we try human if we were ever offered, and Will's a pussy.
I pussied out. I was like, but I was like, kept on bringing up like, what's the situation? Like, are we like, am I
right?
Gonna,
is this for entertainment or is this to survive?
Is if it's a survival situation, then I guess I gotta.
You do have to say spadoinkle before you do it, though.
Spadoinkle.
Spadoinkle.
I said try. I don't want to set up a steady diet of human and develop brain parasites. Just try it.
Jeez.
Okay, out of all of us, Anne's the first one. Anne's the first one to become a Wendigo.
Oh, absolutely.
If this conversation is ever used in a court recording, just to be clear, we are joking about cannibalism. We are joking about the cannibalism. If anybody on this recording eventually does cannibalism, we were joking at this time.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Say no more.
You can't say wink, wink after that if you wanted to stand up in a court of law. I'm innocent, Your Honor. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
I'm just keeping it real.
That's right.
Also, what I really loved was I love his friend. His friend's probably that's his like ride or die guy right there. Yeah. He looked as the estate holder when he fucked off.
Yeah, David McDuck. Yeah.
And the other white guys hanging out, waiting for him to show up for dinner, are just dicks when the small time machine disappears.
They are dicks all the way through.
They have English accent.
Yeah. Congratulations, bitch! You made something disappear. Which, by the way, in 1900, you vaporize something. I don't care if you say it went to the future. They're interested in vaporizing shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So also that makes me believe that how many guys were there? 5 friends?
Yeah.
So in Victorian times, you could count on 1 out of 5 of your friends as being honestly true friends. Is that what they're trying to tell us?
2023, you can count on 1.
Look, I don't know how you make friends, but
I only have like 5 friends left, and 3 of them are on this podcast.
Man, this has been a harsh culling for you this year.
COVID was a bitch.
Even 3 years later, goddamn.
I have friend object permanence, so that number will go back up when I actually see people.
Yes. You big dumb sexy baby.
Yes, I am. Well, that's the title of this episode. The Time Machine, aka You Big Dumb Sexy Baby.
Put that on a t-shirt.
That's right.
Oh, I fucking wear that t-shirt.
Who wouldn't?
Oh my God.
So, as we do on all of these, let's take a look at the science. There really isn't any, right? Like,
no.
You know, there's not even like a flux capacitor.
Well, there is.
There is, because they talk about the 4th dimension as time.
True.
Which is established. It is in the book, even though I guess there were maybe like discussions around it. I'm sort of interested in like learning a little more about that, because the initial scientific paper that established time as the fourth dimension wasn't actually published until 1908. Einstein ended up using that as one of the bases for his later works that expanded upon the idea and then eventually became the theory of relativity. So there's at least a hint to science.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like when they discuss why can't I touch the model, it's like, well, it's the same. If something wasn't on the specific point of the axes of the 3 dimensions, you wouldn't be able to touch it, you'd miss it. And so adding the 4th dimension, it's not here. It's not, you have 3 out of 4, but that's not good enough for interactivity or to see it or to touch it or any of that stuff. You have to wait until all 4 dimensions are aligned.
Exactly.
That was good. I had never really heard it described like that, and I had gotten the basic concept, but that solidified it in a way that was easier to explain to other people. It was really good.
Although the dude's description of 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional was painful.
Not great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you have to explain it to an audience that you have to treat them like 5-year-olds.
You gotta treat them like big, dumb, sexy babies.
That's right.
Oh, you audience, you big, dumb, sexy babies.
Well, and maybe that has something to do with how this movie was made.
Well, maybe. Yeah, because they didn't go a lot into concepts. Although Rod himself was also kind of an idiot. Like, you're traveling through time. Why do things changing in time somehow throw you? Like, my father died. Oh, that's horrible. Well, you knew where you were going. Like, you went 17 years into the future. I'd be like, oh, yeah, that sucks. What was that?
I was like, do you think your friend was immortal? You're going
Right.
in time.
Right. And he wasn't no spring chicken before.
Well, I mean, he actually was. We just equate the way people looked in Victorian times as being old. They were not actually old. He had a baby at home who turned into the adult. 30
Yeah, they
years
were probably
later.
in their 30s?
I would say probably yes.
Well, but they only lived to like 50, so. Okay, so running down the rest of the list. Where will we put this on the entertainment value? Let's ignore the science, everything else. How entertaining was it when it comes to a time travel movie?
When you're drinking and can lock it. It's kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very MST3K worthy for me.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, although that's what most of my, I'm glad to hear the rest of you say that, because that's basically most older movies. I'm like, I'll throw it on the MST3K list, so.
Well, I think yes, that, but I also appreciated like the effects, the way that moving through time was portrayed. I appreciated that. I think that I have a tendency to yell at inane movies, and I yelled at this one a lot. Even though I've seen it, I was still yelling at it.
It also had an old white man, as the main. Well, I'm sorry, a white man as the main protagonist. Yes. So
a very self-important white man. You can just
say white man.
That. Yeah, just skip the old. It doesn't matter.
Big boomer energy.
Yeah, that's right. Anne, thoughts on entertainment value?
I too enjoyed just the general set dressings. It looked nice. The colors were nice and clean. So from a filmmaking perspective, it's it's enjoyable on somewhat of a level. The acting definitely wasn't going to be nominated for or winning any awards. But it's fun. It's dumb. And it ain't enough to inspire yelling, but that can be a whole different kind of pleasure.
I'm interested that all of you guys talked about how you watched it as kids, or at least Will and Anne, you talked about how you watched it as kids. I would put this as baby's first time travel movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't deal with really important concepts, but it gets the job done when it comes to giving you the basic idea of time travel. And then there's furry monsters with red eyes. So fun.
And I do have to say, and it did win an award.
For the acting?
No. It won an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects.
I specified for the acting.
Yeah.
The effects, not surprised. The effects were great for the
Yeah.
The acting?
Right. The acting, not at all.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Weena was the actress that played Weena was 17 when they started filming. She turned 18 during filming, and there's actually a note in IMDb that her acting improved so much they went back and reshot a lot of her scenes.
Interesting.
Wow.
Jesus.
So that was the best she had.
So another thing that we haven't talked about is Rod Taylor, the actor, was playing H.G. Wells in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes. And H.G. Wells was in the movie.
huh.
I don't know. They have him here as the cast. I don't think so, because he died in 1946, so he wasn't in the movie.
Yeah.
He was the writer.
You failed.
I failed at IMDb being...
You D failed.
Well, that's because I'm using the G, not the D.
Oh, yeah. See? Problem when you go looking for the G when you should be using the D.
That sounds like a you problem. And my problem by extension.
Big dumb
Also,
sex.
Big, dumb, sexy baby.
I also got some weird movie fact for you here. The Warlocks were designed by Hua Ming Chang, who also designed the props for the original Star Trek series,
Aha.
including the tricorder and the communicator.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
And
Yeah.
you could see some of that technology. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of it, but like down in the Morlock caves and some other areas where it did seem very Star Trek-ish.
And for the Morlock design, apparently it was a combination of latex, gorilla hair, and also glow-in-the-dark eyes that the performers could turn on while
So not
performing.
PETA approved.
Nope.
Not unless they wanted to go and shave a gorilla alive.
Oh,
Film that. I'd watch that.
dicks out for Harambe.
Harambe Morlock. So, moving on to the time travel philosophy. How strong was the philosophy and ideas of time travel in this?
I guess he just wanted to fuck around and find out.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, taking the science, like, which we've already discussed, and the nuclear explosion that should have vaporized him. I mean, I guess it's sound if what you're doing is creating a bubble, basically,
Yep.
and traveling like a capsule through time.
Somehow the bubble traps the air around him, which is fine, but he was also surrounded by extreme heats and extreme colds for like minute seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he waited for a mountain to erode around him, which is kind of insane when you think about it. I'm just going to sit here for a while and see how this turns out.
I liked that part because I did like that he's thinking glacially. Like he's thinking in time in such large areas, and that's a good way for Wells to even explain it. But, you know, how many of or how much evolution, things like that can all be occurring in that time period. So, the most fun category, detriment to the space-time continuum. This fucks the space-time continuum, right?
He gives no fucks about the ramifications of his actions.
Right.
Well, and also,
He's there for the thrill.
yeah, every one of his stops in the quote-unquote future is a past to another future.
Mm-hmm.
Even the future he ends up at, as we see, because he accidentally goes forward, and we watch the Morlock disintegrate. So there is more future. So saving Weena and hosting a rebellion, which, by the way, this can't be just the Eloi and the Morlocks just exist. There's only a dozen of each of them, in London. So he's kicked off a rebellion that will probably be quashed by other Morlock units or start a war, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because they threw a bunch of dead wood into those air shafts.
Right. And one thing collapsed.
Big bada boom happens, and then they're like, and the Morlocks are done. And I'm like, no, they're not. Just because you've got one structure destroyed doesn't mean we don't have an entire other civilizations out there we don't know about.
Right, or go 1,000 years into the future when the Eloi, the last remaining humans on Earth, have all died of inbreeding,
Or or accidental death because they don't know what poison is.
Right.
Or they just like someone's drowning and they drown.
Yeah.
But it was like another point towards, obviously, this is London. This is where London was. So there is no other society.
Once again, a very Victorian.
Yep, very Victorian. But also, England is an island.
Right.
So it is possible.
No man is an island.
Well, we're talking about England, not no man.
Right.
But, so, I mean, it is slightly possible that, yes, there could be others somewhere else. But, yeah.
Good point.
Look how close England is actually to France. I mean, people can swim across that. The idea that...
Yeah.
People do swim.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, but my point is, even the simple act of bringing back a flower from the future, you're fucking the space-time continuum. Because you also handed it to a scientist.
100%. Not to mention, who knows what
he's not really a scientist.
Or chemical compounds have developed in that flower that are not native.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also,
I think that was another nod to Victorian, because he said, my friend dabbles in botany.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's not
It's like, you, expert, identify this flower.
No, it's... You dabble in botany. Tell me if you,
in Victorian flower language, this means nothing, which means it's never been seen before.
Right.
So I actually had a thought now, because remember the ring system that had like the nice recordings of other people talking about wars and diseases in the air?
That you, in reality, would have to spin like 1,000,000 times to keep it going? Yes.
God damn it. I gotta fucking finish this recording. Why do you...
Oh, and it starts over every time.
Spin the wheel of destiny.
Ring of morality. Turn, turn, turn.
Do you know what I thought of when I saw those rings? This is reaching, but like early 2000s, Bjork funded this project to make a music table, and it looked a lot like that. And it was like, if you moved objects on the table, it created different sounds, and you could record, like she used it when she recorded songs. So that's what I thought of when I saw it. So there's your obscure music fact. No, the idea was similar, but it was like basically like a beatbox table.
Yes.
But it was depending on the objects and where the weight of an object, if it blocks so much light, whatever, and you move them around to create different sounds.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Not my real dad.
Oh, man.
He beats me.
Not my real dad.
Get up, get down, get up, Mom.
God. Have you watched the same YouTube videos? Most
likely.
Oh
yeah, absolutely. That one's like early Newgrounds.
So
E-bombs world. So yeah, space-time continuum's fucked. One way or another. Not as badly as Back to the Future, especially once you get to the second Back to the Future and the end of it, because you shattered it and then kind of fixed it,
right?
Yeah,
so
but the entertainment value was higher, so
that's true.
Timeline. Oh my god.
So anything more before we wrap on the time machine?
I'm worried he brought some kind of advanced disease back to the 1900s, because he got accosted by some Morlocks before he went back.
Oh, he Cronenberg that timeline. Something terrible happened to those people.
Oh, why do I have 5 noses now? I don't know.
I mean, they still had the sirens, so the Morlocks had nukes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, that's what we're supposed to be missile silos.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is if the Morlocks live in them, then the other Morlock countries, the Morlocks in other countries, don't even need to fuck around with going to investigate. They're just like, oh, we lost communication. Launch.
Nuke it from space.
Fire the missiles. But I am Lim Morlock.
Oh my god. You know what I was thinking of when Anne mentioned France? French Morlocks.
Oh, this Eloy pairs nicely with a Cabernet, no?
But instead of gorilla fur, it would have been marabou.
They're French. They're just more stylish.
That's right.
They smoke cigarettes and lounge around.
You know, it's
All these Morlocks with like singed fur from where their cigarettes have burned them.
they just look better, and we just don't know why.
We would formally like to apologize to all of our French listeners. We are talking about some horrible stereotypes. The one Morlock that doesn't speak, he's just trapped in a box.
Marcel Morlock.
The mime lock.
A Ratatouille Morlock.
But it's not. It's like it's not a rat. It's like an evolved rat. So it's like a slee stack under his hat.
Oh, worst kitchen ever.
Okay, well, I think we've alienated enough people. But overall, Time Machine, good watch. I will say, definitely belongs in the top 5.
Yay!
Yeah, definitely a I would say foundation of time travel movies as we understand them.
Absolutely.
And in fact, as we have discovered in this, referenced a bunch in going through other time travel movies that we have seen and adore. So, any other final thoughts?
I also think that machine makes an appearance in the Gremlins movie, like the first one, but I can't remember when.
It does. It shows up at the invention convention at the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
And then
And it shows up and then it disappears.
Beautiful. There's also a whole episode of the unfortunate television series The Big Bang Theory that centers around the accidental purchase of the actual prop from the film.
Right, which is a whole story. Like it was in storage for a long time, and then somebody bought it for $1,000 and restored it, and then it was like it is on a rotating.
The original burned in a house fire.
No, the original little one, the model burned in a house fire. The actual big one is still around.
Thought I read an article.
No, the director took it home, the little model, and it was in his house, which burned in a fire.
Aw. But not the model in the movie. That's still traveling through time with a cigar in it.
Right. Oh my God. All right, everybody.
So I just had a thought.
Uh-oh.
So the little model of the time machine.
Yes.
What if there's a sequel and he has to figure out a way to use the model of the time machine because the actual large time machine is destroyed?
That'd be amazing.
So it's like, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids time machine.
Or it's mixed with Gulliver's Travels. And a Lilliputian in the future has figured out how to work the time machine.
Or humanity slowly evolves in a very tinier version of ourselves, and they're like, what the fuck is this?
It's a Victorian sled.
Rosebud. Okay, everybody. Well, please tune in next week when we will be discussing 12 Monkeys. Oh man, this one is one of my absolute favorites.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and definitely a mindfuck. And we will be discussing, as we started discussing during the time loop episode, is 12 Monkeys a time travel movie, or is it a time loop movie, or is it both?
A warning?
Or is it a warning? But until then, please take it away. I Fight Dragons.
tastes like cream, stronger and harder than a bad girl's dream. Make a bad one good, make a wrong one right. Power of love will keep you home at night. Don't take money, don't take fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong and it's sad and it's cruel sometimes, but it might just save your life. That's the power of love. First time you feel it, it might make you sad, and the next time you feel it, it might make you mad. But you'll be glad, baby, when you found that's the power makes the world go round. Don't take money, don't take fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong and it's sad and it's cruel sometimes, but it might just save your life. They say that all in love is fair, oh, but you don't care. You'll know what to do when it gets hold of you. With a little help from above, you'll feel the power of love. Don't take money, don't take fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's tougher than diamonds, stronger than steel. You won't feel nothing till you feel the power. And that's the power of love. That's the power. You feel the power of love. You feel the power of love. That's the power of love. You feel the power of love. And it might just save your life. That's the power of the love.